How do you navigate when your team is going through a lot of changes in leadership? Companies go through change, people go through change. Change can happen for really good reasons. Change can happen for very bad reasons. Change can kind of blindside you and you don't see it coming, can put you on your heels, can make you feel uncomfortable. Obviously, change brings a lot of anxiety, and that's supernatural. When companies go through a lot of change, my feedback would be to stay the course in your job. If you are part of those changes, you've got to set a vision, you have to communicate it very well, you have to explain the who, what, where, when, why, and how of what you're doing. But if your company, you're a mid-level manager, your company's going through a lot of leadership changes, I think there's a couple things to it. Really work hard to understand what your company is doing and why they're doing it. 2, do not get caught in the fray of bitching about the people that are leaving or complaining about the people that are coming in or just complaining about change. People hate that. It's not a good look. It says that you're scared. It says that you're small. It says that you're self-centered. Don't get caught in that. I think the best thing you can do when your leadership is changing is to understand what the company is trying to do, understand why these new people are going to get it to that place, maybe understand how the last leadership regime didn't get that done, and then to make sure you can articulate how that works in your cubicle. What are you doing that's going to help the new people get what they need to done, that helps your company achieve what it's trying to go after, and what is the lesson you can learn from the people who didn't make it? So the biggest thing is take a deep breath. Don't worry about it. The sky isn't falling. Things change all the time. Shit happens. It will be good. It will be bad. It will be terrible. It will be amazing. It will be boring. It will be anticlimactic and extremely exhilarating. It'll be all those things at once. Stay your course. Make sure you understand and kind of intellectualize ooh, this is what's happening here, and then get your job done. Okay, second question. I went from a job that I didn't really like, that had a negative environment, to 7 months ago, I went to an incredibly positive environment where I really thrived. I got a lot of positive feedback, a raise and a bonus based on performance, and a raise from passing a certification exam. Do you have any recommendations to put my guard down? I'm still a little afraid to get burned by just trying to do my job because the last environment was awful. You gotta let that go. Who cares? Your last job sucked. I have had more terrible bosses in my career and toxic bad environments. I've probably created toxic bad environments. You gotta let it go, right? The hardest thing I think about change and something new, and I go through this too a lot, is kind of looking behind you or looking in the rear view or kind of being focused or centered on what it was like before. I think that's human nature. I think it's so easy to get your thoughts caught up in what things used to be like, or get your feelings caught up in how people feel about you now versus how they felt about you then, or what would they say, or what they're probably saying. I just think it's so easy to be looking behind you. You got to let that go. 1, it's not helping you. 2, you don't need it. You're clearly crushing it in your current job. I think the best thing is go let your guard down. Be immersed in where you are. Give it your all. Give it your best. They clearly love you. You're clearly crushing it. Shit, one day they might turn out to be a bunch of toxic motherfuckers too. That's okay. Then it'll be time to leave and you'll go do the next thing. But don't let your experiences in other places, in other times, with other versions of yourself and other people, don't let them hang over you. You know what I mean? The nice thing about having a hangover is you feel kind of lousy until 3 p.m. the next day, but then you feel great. You've had time to be hungover from your last job. Let it go. Go drink a Celsius, get your energy back, and go attack your new job and make the most of it and be willing to be vulnerable in it. You not letting your guard down doesn't mean you're not going to get hurt. And wouldn't it be better to suck in all the great things about this new place, all the things you can learn, all the things you can do, and also learn new things that you don't like, because doing all those things will set you up best for whatever the job is that comes next. All right, last question. The company I work for was bought at the end of last year. The new owners are just now starting to focus on us, the magazine. This person works in a magazine. They are asking our small staff to do a lot when we're already spread thin with a lot on our plates. How do I tell an executive, not my boss, of this new company, I don't have time or bandwidth to do this because I do all of these other things, while also preparing for reviews later this summer and setting myself up to ask for a raise or a better title? Get out of the magazine business is my first thing. Like, you can't, no, like, don't, no. You don't want to be the person who's in the great business of yesterday, right? So the first thing I would say is, if you want a raise, you want more money, you want a better title, you want more recognition, you want more control, you want to do more interesting things, get closer to a growth area of the business. Use what you've learned. Maybe if the magazine were the growth area or the single best thing in the business, you would have the best chance of getting a raise or a title or promo or more stuff to do. But it sounds to me that your management has come in, they've taken care of all the super important stuff, and now they're getting to your area of the business. If your area of the business is not in the super important stuff bucket, you're not going to have as good of a chance of getting a raise or a promotion. The second thing is, when you're being asked to do something, you can't be like, I'm going to ask for more money and a better title, and I'm going to tell them that I'm not going to do that. Like, those two things do not go together. What I would do is I would make sure that you are very clear with your boss on what your priorities are. I would make sure I understand what the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth priorities are for your job on any given day at any given time. The second thing is, if you're being asked by someone else, your boss's boss or new management people, to do other things, what I would then say is, I'd love to take on these new things. I can't wait to take on this new challenge, to do all this new stuff. These are my priorities now. How does this map to what my priorities are? Are these things more important, the same importance, or less important? And force that person to tell you what their priorities are. If there's a disconnect in what the priorities look like, reconcile that with your boss. But I don't think it's a good idea to go to your new management and be like, I have too much stuff to do, knowing in your head you're going to ask that same person for a raise come June or July of this year. So what I would make sure of is that you know what your priorities are, that you're very transparent about your priorities, that your priorities are bought off on by your boss. You may create a little bit of tension because you may be like, that guy says that this is my priority and the new guy says that that's my priority. You got to get to the truth of it, because ultimately you want to grow your career, you want to grow your money, you want to grow your span of control and responsibility, you want to grow your impact. You can only do that if you're working on things that the company prioritizes. And that's the single biggest thing after getting out of the magazine business.